Hello, YouTube. All right, let's see if this is working. Yeah. Holy shit, it's working. Wow. Holy shit, it's working. All right, let's put it. 514 subscribers. Wow. There. Dad's in the house. Welcome. Welcome to the rainy day tweak out. A couple more minutes to set up. Welcome in. Welcome in. Good to see you. Got Tweak Coffee ready to go. Got Tweak Puppy ready to go. Justin, chairman of the board of Larata Corporation in the house. Welcome, welcome. My online's just sucked this week. The data stream should be okay, but trying to follow along, I think it's going to be pretty sketch. But we'll see. Let's see. How's everybody doing today? There's been a lot of tweaking going on these YouTube streets lately. And not much going on around here. It's been raining for the last, well, this is the third day of rainy weather, which is good. We need the rain. Is this the home page? No. Dashboard. Yeah, just give me a minute here. We'll get on track. As always, it takes forever to get my act together. Here. Melissa Mattel in the house. Larata filed bankruptcy last Wednesday. Well, fortunately, our capital holdings were mostly in Bad Badger tokens, so a bankruptcy on the books doesn't mean necessarily what you think it means. Also propped up by the Voodoo Piggy market. So there's that. So yeah, bankruptcy, it's probably a strategic move. But, I refer you to Justin. He's got the inside track on that. All right, so I think we're more or less. Let's just expand the chat so I can see. Not that much. Okay, you guys can sit here. It's ready for smoke. Busy day, even though it's been raining. Let's see. What was that? Yeah, it's a chill day today. Ooh, beard shot. There we go. Not too bright there. How's the light? Light okay? Yeah, it looks pretty good. Susan Daly in the house. Welcome. Good to see you. The t-shirts. Yeah, the t-shirts are going to add to the liquidity pool and create a little bit of capital solvency as we smoke. Yeah. Get your name in for the Larata t-shirt hype that's about to be unleashed on the world. Every t-shirt has a moral printed on it. I don't know if I want one now. Unless it's some kind of degenerate morals. Susan is George. Einhorn is Finkel. The internet is very confusing. I knew it was you, George. I've been following your challenges with the YouTube terms of service, etc. Ooh. Ooh. This isn't one of them boy named Sue kind of things, is it? So yeah, I got nothing really. It's just a rainy day, not much else going on. I figured I'd come bother you guys for the moral bankruptcy. Oh, well, I think that was declared. Oh, again, I refer you to Justin Garza. When did we actually declare moral bankruptcy at Larata Corp? So yeah, we'll do our best to do a dead stream. We're gonna. What do you guys think? KickBot on this channel? You guys want custom voices? We could do a custom Wessa Matao voice. Probably find Stoffel's voice. Oh wait, Stoffel is writer. And King Bao Bao. I don't know. I can't follow all these sock accounts. Wow, we actually got some good connectivity. Stream seems to be going good. Buy me a tweet coffee. Pin the link in the chat, and yeah, we might consider throwing some money toward KickBot at some point. $10 a month for KickBot, 99 cents for the first month. That's been pretty fun on Kick, watching the Badger. Lots of tweaking out going on with those TTS chats. Lots of fun for the whole family. Well, maybe not necessarily Direct Dookie's family, but we're not. His family might enjoy some of those chats, but I guess the tweak compound, those folks might think it's. No, I don't want to pay to talk in cartoon. You already do that anyway. Okay. Well, maybe we'll just do a custom dad voice. Give us your best impersonations. But yeah, some real savagery going on in the mortally bankrupt Murata TTS chat box there. I love it. Sometimes a little distracting. It makes the Badger streams a little little more chaotic, if that's even possible. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. Just saw an update on Freeman. We've been watching the Freeman situation. Apparently 60 grand has been raised on the GoFundMe. I don't know what else has been raised through PayPal, Cash App, etc., etc. But it's just a matter of getting that money to the people holding him in jail, if that's the plan to get out of jail. I assume it is. Blue court scheduled today. No pig, no police state kangaroo court, no pig court, kangaroo court for today. I want to see if this from my clipboard will post or be auto deleted. Well, I can see it. It would have been better if we had a KickBot voice to go with that. Maybe Christopher Walken or Mickey Mouse. But yeah, it seems like the money is there, just making it available, and then whatever legal strategy James decides to pursue, I wish him the best. Really enjoy his content over the years. He was kind of one of the first auditors that came on my radar, if you want to call it auditors, cop watchers, and discovered Bao through Freeman. But it was that viral post where he's talking to, I forget the name of that chief. I can't even remember where he's giving him a hard time, calling him a punk, and asking if he's drinking, if he's been at the whatever all day. So, yeah, 60,000. That's what I just saw. Lackluster posted. I haven't. Well, let's see if we can find that. What is that called? GoFundMe. GoFundMe for James Freeman. Let's see where it's at as of this moment. Shout out to Roy Tripolini for doing all the hard work here. $60,552 raised as of right now. Appreciate you doxing everybody as you read out their emails and messages. So yeah, dox. The Go Fundraiser to dox all of James Freeman supporters. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. That's about all I have to say about that. Jody in the house, welcome. I pitched in $10 for my horn. I threw in 20 Canadian shekels. No, I converted to US. It was 20 US. Just to say I did something. 40,000 bail. Yep. So between bail and legal fees and impound fees, I mean they did them dirty. I haven't done any deep research on this, but I'd like to know what the protocols are for using spike strips and the grappler in Arizona for vehicular chases. It didn't seem like he was a threat to anyone. I don't know if I can't go into his mind. Why they decided to pursue him in his vehicle, I'm not sure. Like none of this really adds up unless you factor in that the police chief in Sorita County, Sorita, had an incident with him a couple of months ago. So the department had an issue with him. So this seems like a retaliatory set of circumstances that led to everything that we're dealing with here. But shout out to the YouTube community that rallied, Lackluster Harvey Tuck Sucks, Roy, Pigs Under Pressure, everyone who's contributed, like it's pretty fantastic. Like years ago, I had a concept similar to what Chili's helped out. Fantastic fundraising effort. Like what was it, Monday night? You got on stream with Roy, I think it was. But Chili's got that "You've Got Bail" concept he's trying to launch. I wanted to do something for farmers to have a legal protection fund at some point. And one of my channels, I don't know how many channels I got now. One of my channels was to talk more about homesteading. That's when I had a homestead. Now I've got a tweakstead, an RV tweak shed. And back in the day, my idea was to deal with government officials. Typically, local officials are the ones that are going to come after you first, try to harass you with bylaw enforcement and that kind of stuff. And yeah, I see your comment there, Dad. I'll comment on that in a second. The idea was that they don't want us growing our own food and being able to feed our friends and neighbors and our own families. And so they get you with the red tape and the bylaws and registrations and certifications and premises ID numbers. And they want you in that centralized, controlled food production system. And so a small producer, I called myself a micro producer because I had a few head of sheep, a few pigs, a couple of milking cows, some chickens. So we had eggs for ourselves. We had milk. We had pork. We had lamb. Would sell piglets. Would sell lambs. Would sell sheep. Would sell meat. All kinds of stuff. All of which, depending on who you ask, is highly illegal. And this goes way back, like around 2015, when I caught wind of Joel Salatin, and his book title that caught my attention was "Everything I Want to Do Is Illegal." And this is stuff that our grandparents did. They had sheep, they had cows, they had chickens, they had pigs, they had the stuff. And there wasn't such high levels of regulation and barriers to entry to get your product to the market. Nowadays, that's all changed. Just a handful of companies control the whole shooting works. So as small producers, micro producers like myself, would find themselves encountering regulatory bodies or authorities that wanted you to come into the system under their authority, uh, if you didn't want to comply, then you'd have a legal battle. So, you know, having a legal defense fund of a couple $100,000, that people could access as needed, and then you do fundraisers to keep replenishing that liquidity pool, whether it's through sale of voodoo piggies or badger token or whatever. But yeah, this is kind of the grassroots kind of thing that needs to be done. And what an age we live in, where with GoFundMe, you can blast your message out and people will contribute. So I think that's pretty awesome. So Dad said, amazing. Coincidentally, they set bail at 40,000 after paying the same amount to him. Yeah, it's like you don't need to be a mathematician to see there's a retaliatory element in all of what's happening to Mr. Springer. And like Bao has pointed out repeatedly, let's convict him today on the criminal charges. All it's going to be is damage of personal private property. Well, that's kind of redundant. Your personal property is private. And and threatening. So whatever. If you want to plea out to that, that's a strategy. If you want to sit there and do time served and then plea out without probation, that's not a terrible strategy, as some pointed out in some of this week's streams. So Joe says they are just trying to help. I don't know who they are. You might have to clarify that response a bit. Maybe see, this is why we need the KickBot. If you had done it in a crusty voice, I might have a little more context. Let's keep the smokes handy. It's water ready. Dr. Pepper is waiting in the wings. But yeah, the regulator. Now, how I would answer that is the regulations keep the system operating so that billions of people don't starve. Granted that there is a utility in regulation. My gut feeling, or I don't want to call it intuition, or just my the way I'm made, is that you should have options available. If you want to go outside of regulatory policies that are ensuring safety to the food system, you should have that option. And this is where the words like mandatory and compulsory and control really come in. Look at how much the food supply improved. Well, there's a case to be made that, again, improved is one of those words. Like, there's an abundance of calories, but a lack of nutrition. I refer you to the cheesy poofs. I mean, like, yeah, it's great to have warehouses full of these food-like products, but for those that want to eat whole, real, live foods, like, I'm just trying to think, like, even the regulatory hoops just to make kombucha or something available on store shelves, fermented food like that. Like, I kind of hear what you're saying, Joe, but at the same time, like, there's always another perspective when it comes to some of these regulations. Some of them just don't make any sense. And again, refer you to Joel Salatin. Everything I want to do is illegal. And he's a farmer. I guess you'd call him part of the Back to the Land movement that started in the 60s. His parents were these farm folk, and he grew up on the farm in North Carolina, I believe. North Carolina. I'm going to say North Carolina. I don't think it's South Carolina. I think it's North Carolina. His farm is called Polyface Farms. You can find them on YouTube. The shit Dollar General sells in. So if people don't want the shit that Dollar General sells, if you want to live in a shed with a bearded white Yeti and a crippled baby boomer that does yoga and looks and talks like Jim Carrey, then shop at Dollar General. Like, that's ought to be your choice. But it's when the government removes choice, that's where that pricks my voodoo piggy. So yeah, improvement needs quantification or qualification there. There's an abundance of food, but is it an abundance of desirable food that people want to pay for and feed their families. Because I got to tell you, eating on the farm, I've never ate like that in my life. Like the eggs were delightful. The milk was like nothing you've ever eaten. Like it's a food. Like you don't drink it, you eat it. Your body loves it. The energy, the fats. Oh my gosh, the sugars, like the pro. It's just. It's almost like the egg is like the perfect protein. And then the meat we would raise was just like nothing compares. I've never eaten anything in a restaurant that even comes close to the flavor, the texture, just the whole experience of it. Like I know people want that. I had friends and family that we would distribute these items in our own way. But once you start doing that outside of the regulated system, that's when you have the potential to attract attention. So Joel Salatin on Polyface Farm, he's come up against all these regulatory bodies, but he kind of he has a track record in that he's been doing this his whole life. His farm is established. They've come up with systems. They've come up with plans, strategies, uh, cash flow, capital. Like it's really quite something that he's done. Is it something everybody could do to get the same level of success? Well, no. Unless you've got a few $1,000,000 to set up your own abattoir for slaughtering animals in a way that you can distribute them legally. Nothing is a dollar. Well, the cigarette was no. These were cheap. The government smokes are $1 a piece here, but they don't sell them by the piece. They sell them by the packs. So yeah, nothing is a dollar. And even getting back to Joe's comment, uh, things have improved. There's it better in Montana, but just different. Tiny hats, maybe. Um, Look at how much the food supply improved. Well, there's something inherently catastrophic waiting, and we've seen this. We saw it in COVID. I don't know if you've been paying attention. There was the one guy set fire to some toilet paper warehouse. I think one was even in Canada. There's been all these warehouse fires. There's been food production facilities, slaughterhouses burning down, feedlots burning down, and that's food that is going to feed people. They're going to wipe their butts with that toilet paper, but not no more. You can't wipe your butt with a handful of ashes. I guess you could try. But that system is inherently fragile. I don't know if inherently is the right word to use, but it is tragically fragile. Like it is on demand shipping, just in time shipping. Like the time and dollar margins on these shipments just to make the whole thing work, it has to operate perfectly. And so any interruption in that supply chain puts you and your family potentially at risk. Again, we saw it with COVID. Remember that shipping container barge that got lodged in the Panama Canal a few years back? How that disrupted things? Like, I think that was somewhat of a manufactured crisis, but there were things that just weren't available at the grocery store. Never mind the goods you buy at department stores and car parts and all that other stuff. Hardware, shit like that. But the back to the land or homesteading or raise your own food kind of approach is anti-fragile, uh, because I grew way more food than I could possibly use myself. I could have downscaled and had just 3 or 4 chickens and one pig that I bought off my neighbor every year and fatten them up and just keep enough for me and my family. I didn't need a cow. I wanted a cow, and I got a cow. That was like one of the best experiences of my life. Like there's something so satisfying, gratifying about harvesting your own food that you're putting on your table, and it was a great experience for me. Like I needed that. Just like it's doable, it's scalable, but it's when you want to turn it into a business that's when the government's like, okay, we need the receipts because we gotta get our shares. Imagine convincing people they are better because one's imaginary currency is worth more than another's. Yeah, I mean, I put a comment in a chat room the other day. I said, "Here's a conspiracy theory for you. There's money is not real." And the prisoner said, "Well," pulled a dollar bill out of their wallet and was like, "Oh, okay. I thought money wasn't real." Yeah, it was like, what is that? Like, money is just a concept. So, okay, concepts could be real depending on how you argue, but yeah, valuation, all that dollar represents is really your life energy, whether it's your time or your effort. Uh, Money is really a representation of your time. So in that sense, it's not really real. It's just it's a token. It's a means to exchange your time for something you can convert it to some other product you want. So it's kind of an intermediary. But I kind of feel like money is not real. It's, and nowadays they could just print money. It's even less real. So I don't know. I'm tweak babbling over here. Is that my top chat again? I thought I switched it. What the fuck? Where are we here? Inflation is killing everybody. One thing I've heard from the UK, Australia, and obviously the West is we are being pushed out of the market. Everything is draining our wallet. Well, thanks to Donald Trump, we're opening up, or you guys are opening up trade deals with China, while Canada just sits on the sideline hoping that China treats us nice. Most of them make no sense, stomp on levy, and designed to suppress alternatives in the free market. Yeah, so again, alternatives, whether it's alternative healthcare approaches, alternative medicines. I mean, I'm sure it's the same in the States, but it's like you cannot market any potion, elixir, uh, remedy that even implies it's a medical treatment for anything. Like the the Rockefeller stranglehold on the healthcare system is more or less complete. It's really a monopoly. I thought we had antitrust laws in most Western countries. I don't know how that translates into we're going to force you to buy this healthcare, or we're going to force you through taxation to contribute to our healthcare. Like all healthcare systems are more or less flawed at this point. But removing people's ability to make their own choices by outright prohibiting alternatives, well, is that not a monopoly? Sounds like a monopoly to me. But I'm just a tweaker and RV. Surely there must be something better on YouTube you guys could be watching. What's happening on the YouTubes? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But yeah, there's not been a lot going on out here. There's some potential in this area to get back to what I was doing with the homesteading, but I'm still not feeling great about this area. The truck still give me troubles. I have to buy a couple of new batteries for it. It's all back together, but it just doesn't want to fire up. So I gotta make sure, double check my work on the fuel system again, make sure it's operating properly. I guess the question mark are the injectors. I have no idea if those injectors are gonna fire properly or not. It tried to cough and sputter a little bit, but it's not firing up. And I need to get it running in order to further diagnose what's going on. So at this point, I'm thinking maybe I just missed something super simple. Maybe it is a wiring issue, the computer. So there's a couple more things I'm going to check, but I'm not doing that in the rain because I got to pull some fuel lines off and check things. So I don't want water getting contaminated in my diesel. So I got to wait for it to dry off. It's a long weekend here in Canada. How's it? Somebody explain me the first Monday before August or what is it, May? The first Monday before May, or the last Monday before May 25th is our long weekend. So that's this weekend. It's pretty dead around the resort here. Not a lot of check-ins. It's cold and rainy. It's not going to be that warm at all for this weekend. Fortunately, with all this rain, we shouldn't be expecting any fire bans. So if anybody does show up, they could try to have a wet, soggy campfire experience in the cold. Like it's getting down close to freezing overnight through tonight, tomorrow, even Sunday. So not a pleasant long weekend here in central British Columbia, but it's beautiful. I don't care. Every day is like a camping experience for me. It's just there have been a lot of tourists coming through, just spending the night as they're passing through. So just a stopover, quick stopover. So I've been meeting a few new faces around here just in the past week. But yeah, not a lot of campers flocking into the campground as of right now. That might change by, well, 4 o'clock is supposed to be check-in time. I think like there's hotel rooms that you can book here as well. I think the hotel rooms are booked, but yeah, it seems our long weekend here seems like a bit of a dud. I think your American long weekend is next weekend, but whatever. It doesn't affect my pay one way or the other. Speaking of which, I call getting paid. So so yeah, I just figured I'd come out here. There's not much I can do outside. I was getting some shit organized in my trailer, looking for some pieces. There's a few things I got to do in the RV. I got to fix the windshield wiper, that crossover bar from the motor. The motor's on the passenger side. It crosses over and links to the driver's side. And there was a little bushing, and I just had it fastened with a zip tie last fall, and so that all fell apart. I found a nice little piece of metal. I can put a proper bushing in there now. I got to get my windshield wipers going. I fired up the RV the other day. It's running fairly nicely, satisfactorily. In another week or two, I'll probably make a trip in the RV down to the West Coast, to Vancouver. Don't have a cow, man. I didn't listen. I mean, interesting story. I mean, I'm not a farmer. I'm a city boy, but I always wanted to be a farmer. And so this was like 2017. My wife and I moved out from Winnipeg to the farm, which was about 45 minutes outside of the major center there, Winnipeg, the capital city of Manitoba. And it was a beautiful little place. It had so much potential, 5 acres. And so we started with a flock of chickens. And I think I bought 13 chickens for $80 back then. So there were 12 hens plus a rooster, and we started getting eggs. And that first week, maybe longer, we stuck them in this chicken coop that we had. The previous owner was raising animals as well, so I put them in this penned area, and I would just go there and sit and look at them for hours, thinking, "Wow, like they were so beautiful." Just watching them, their behavior, just admiring their feathers. They'd come, peck at your boot or whatever, and it was just like this sense of awe. It's like I'm responsible for these creatures, and they're feeding me. Like my mind couldn't even comprehend it, and like that was my first livestock. Few few chickens, and from there, I can't remember if we got rabbits next or sheep. It was right around the same time. I picked up a few rabbits for breeding. The rabbits were. It was good to get that experience, but I wouldn't do rabbits. They were just too much trouble, especially in the winter. Uh, I mean, cold winters, trying to keep water for them was just a pain in the ass, and the rabbits themselves were a pain in the ass. They weren't fun. But once we had the sheep, it was like just another level of fascination. It's like, wow, this is doable. Like, look, they're eating the grass just like they're supposed to. They're growing. They're doing the sheep thing. And it took a long time to establish the sheep herd to get to where it was in the end. And then we got pigs. I got this pregnant gilt, which in farm terminology, it's a female pig, hog, that hasn't had a litter yet. So I had this impregnated gilt, and she gave us a dozen piglets the first time around. And again, the fascination is like, whoa! It's like the pig knows what to do. Like the piglets, they're nursing on the mama, and so once a gilt has had a litter, then it becomes terminology wise a sow. A sow versus a boar. The boar is a male pig, and then it was a cow. I got a deal on a cow. I think the first cow we bought was a Holstein. I don't think it. I know it was a Holstein. I think we got it for $700 or $800. And again, it was a bred cow, so she was she had never milked before. It was a heifer. So a heifer is a female cow, female bovine that hasn't nursed yet or hasn't calved. So once it has had a calf, most terminology considers that female a cow versus a bull, which is the male. And a bull that's been castrated is a steer. Steers you typically raise for your meat. But yeah, we had this cow and calf running around. Now we got milk, and what what struck me is like I was just doing a lot of this by instinct. I was like, okay, I know how to care for these, or I'll figure out how to care for these animals. But it's like the wife was always, oh, I don't know if we're ready for this, and she was the original "Don't have a cow" man, and my response was, I'm gonna have a cow, and from there we kind of traded up to a Jersey cow, and it just kind of went from there. So the Jersey cow milk, I don't think anything comes even close to it as far as taste and quality. I mean, if you haven't had Jersey cow milk, you're missing out. Go find a farmer that's raising Jersey cattle and ask them if they could get you some milk. Rhode Island Reds and Cochins that I'm exploiting. Yeah. See, our chickens, they were always a mixed breed. So we had all kinds of Oregonas, Americanas, Leghorns, Rhode Islands, Barred Rocks. And so we had a lot of genetic diversity in our copper copper Morans. There was a lot of genetic diversity, and so it produced a very resilient animal. Like we had chickens that were roosting in the trees throughout the whole winter, and they didn't get frostbite. They were fine. You know, it blew my mind. Like these are not fragile birds being raised in a building, never seeing sunlight, never getting fresh air. You know, living in confinement their whole lives. These chickens did what the chickens wanted to do. Like we allowed them, or I allowed them the freedom to be the best chickens they could be, and that approach was just again so satisfying. It's like, yeah, this works. You know, the animals know what to do given the right conditions. But these fuckers spent the whole winter outdoors, like under no shelter. The pigs, you know, need very all they need is basically a roof over the head. They don't need an insulated facility. They don't need special diets. Like they figured it out. They did what they needed to do. So. But yeah, with every kind of new acquisition of a new species, a new animal, new type of animal, like my wife is like, I don't know if we're ready for this. It's like we're ready. And I just went ahead and proved to her because after the fact it was like, I'm so glad we have sheep. I'm so glad we decided to get pigs. It's like we, it's like yeah. I'm so glad we have a cow. Yeah, so am I because it's what we want to be doing. So not everybody can have that experience. I'm so grateful that I had that experience. I cheer you on in your exploitation of the Rhode Islands and the Cochins. There's just something you can't even describe about cracking that egg into that pan from animals you raised yourself. It's just the best. The heat, yeah. Yeah, our summers were never too brutally hot the entire time I was on the farm. We didn't have air conditioning, just had fans in the house. Uh, Previous to that, I haven't lived in a facility with air conditioning for probably 20 years. Like I like to acclimatize to the natural climate without air conditioning. So I mean I've got heaters, but I don't have an AC unit for cooling. So we didn't have AC in the house. So if the animals were sweating, we were sweating. They need more water. They need more shade. So so we were able to accommodate that side of things because yeah, heat is probably more deadly than cold. These animals they have a way to regulate their body temperature. I mean, those feathers are great insulation. They have typical kind of body fat. I mean the pigs. I mean the pigs have a layer of fat on them all the way around. they just they're hardy animals. As long as you could create a situation where you're not raising fragile animals. That's going back to Joe's comment. The entire food industry is creating fragile animals for a fragile food supply, and that's a little bothersome because back in the day, even as little as 50 years ago, when I was just a wee little tweaker, you know, we had hundreds of thousands of farms all across Canada, and there were probably millions of farms across the U.S. all producing food locally for their local food supply. Now with centralization, stuff has to be brought in from a greater geographical region to a central processing plant or hub or distribution center. And so your food travels a lot farther than it used to. But having those hundreds of thousands of farms, if one farmer was experiencing a rough year, there was always somebody there to fill that void in the market. And it seems like back then the morality and ethics of people were that you helped out the farmer that was having a bad year. But hundreds of thousands of farmers growing many more hundreds of thousands of head of livestock. I mean, there was redundancy built in. There was always going to be eggs available. There was always going to be milk and cream available. There was always going to be butter. There was always going to be meat available. Now we're at the mercy of market forces that the producer has no control over. Once that animal leaves your facility, your farm, it's out of your hands. You've been paid. It really doesn't matter how you feel about the situation. I wish I could check to see if my battery is. Pigs are unclean. Well, how clean are you? I mean, that's kind of relative, I guess. I don't know if pigs are unclean. I mean, my cows can be pretty unclean. It's not like we got a cow wash station. Yeah, you'd probably be a little alarmed if you took a walk through your average dairy barn and see what them cows lie in or stand in. Some places are better. I worked at a fairly decent dairy for a time, but it was up to me to keep the the cow pen areas clean. Not everybody on every shift had the same approach I did. There were times I'd show up, the cows are lying in their own shit. And those cows are lying on their udders, and their udders got to get clean before you put the milking machine on. And I was the guy that got to inspect the milk filter before the milk goes into the holding tank. You'd replace the filter for the next shift, and sometimes it's like, ooh, that wasn't too clean. But pigs, you'd have to explain to me what you feel about the uncleanliness of pigs. Sheep can be fucking filthy too. So that one is just my electric cooler acting up. I gotta clean out my fridge. My fridge works. So maybe give you a little visual representation here. Come for a walk here. I've got an apartment-sized fridge to replace this, but I'd have to remove the microwave too, because it's going to take up this entire area from the ceiling down to this drawer. I might have to yank this drawer out. I forget what I was going to do. But yeah, there's a fridge. I'll probably rehome this microwave. Microwave is handy, but I don't care for microwave food. But this fridge doesn't work on propane or electric. I think it's just been sitting so long that any of the refrigerant that was there is gone. It just doesn't. It just makes funny noises and doesn't cool. And you can hear the tubes where the refrigerant is supposed to be flowing. It just sounds nasty. So I'm gonna stick an electric fridge in there. I was gonna get a mini fridge, but I figured I've got this fridge that works. May as well have a nice fridge and freezer. So you're way behind on the stream. Well, can't blame the creator for that. Create a smuggling compartment. You said you were going to do that. Oh, this thing is just like I could smuggle. Holy shit! When you think about it, this whole thing is a smuggling compartment. There's cubby holes everywhere. That's what I loved about this RV is it's got so much storage. There's storage under the benches. There's storage under the bed. There's storage under the counter. There's storage overhead. Storage everywhere. Storage on the outside of the freaking thing. So yeah, this is a good smuggle mobile. Not that I ever would do that or encourage anybody to do that. Like with some towel. But yeah, if you're into smuggling, get yourself a '77 Dodge Winnebago, the B400 cutaway van, and start your smuggling career today. But at this point, yeah, really no plans to actually do anything cross border. Money is starting to get a little tight here, so I got to come up with some real way to continue existing here. So the trips are going to be somewhat limited. I do need to make a trip back to Manitoba. I've got shit in a storage container, just a small cube van container. It's maybe 8 feet by 20 feet or something like that. And I want to just clear that thing out so I'm not paying. It's only $75 a month, but it's like why keep paying that? So I'll do a trip back to Manitoba. I was thinking of selling this trailer here because that was the plan anyway. I was going to sell this trailer, but I got to find room for my shit. I can't put all the shit that's in the trailer in the RV. So there's some options I got to work out there, whether I rent storage or see if I could find a place to store stuff at a friend's place. I don't know if I want to store it on site here just because it is a campground and it's kind of not set up for making permanent storage solution necessarily. I'll explore. I'll figure it out. But yeah, I was gonna sell this trailer. There's 6,500, $7,000, and head back home, and then just rent a U-Haul to grab the remainder of my stuff and just pay the $75 a day or whatever it is for a U-Haul trailer with the little amount of stuff I got. Bring it back here and just drop the trailer. The U-Haul place is like right across the street. So so yeah, that's kind of the one trip I've got back to Manitoba sometime in the summer, and then trip to the West Coast. As far as getting the original vision of what I want to do with Pump.Fun, I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. We'll see. We'll see. The tiny coin and the Larata coin, but I think pretentious as I am, Wasa was referring to the book of Leviticus. Define a clean animal has a cloven hoof and chews its cud. I know people that make pigs of themselves. I think he may have been referring to that too, but I wanted him to kind of expand on what he was getting at. I'm a pig eater. I'm unclean, but I'm also not Jewish. And virtually every Jew I've talked to, they like a BLT sandwich every now and then. So I don't know how hard and fast those Levitical rules are adhered to in any kind of religious expression or community structure. But I'm sure, yeah, maybe some of the Orthodox or different sects, even within Christendom probably prohibit the eating of swine, but I encourage it. I mean, shit, I wish I had a pig to butcher right now. You'd be watching a pig butchering stream is what you'd be doing. Muslims, yeah, hold to it in general. Yeah, I'm not following any Muhammad restrictions on food, but hell yeah, I'd butcher a pig in a second, man. Fill that fridge up. Max is down for that. He's always just itching for a pig butchering. But yeah, just I kind of just get the sense this is not where I'm going to be staying. I think I've said that before. So I think I got to figure out a plan to move on. So we're just a little too far removed from the places I want to be. It's very nice here, but it's not doesn't have the kind of opportunities I'm really looking for. So. And you want to butcher the piggies. Ooh, I'm loving rather extreme. Well, the way some two-legged pigs behave, I mean, it's not that extreme. I mean, that's why I can't watch Chili's live streams anymore. It's just I was getting too angry. It's like, fuck, what? When are people gonna reach the breaking point? Like, that's not a great question to ask, but it's like it seems like this is part of a strategy to what is it? Demoralize or divide people? Holy smokes! Some of the behavior I have been seeing a few cop videos in the last couple of weeks, and it's like, yeah, piggers be pigging. I mean, they're just they're just behaving according to their nature, and it's like, yeah, what is it? Is it do 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 good people become cops and turn into bad people, or do bad people become cops and do the things that they wanted to do with a badge now and authority? The sheeple, the common herd. Well, yeah, I tend not to use the term sheeple or, or that kind of mentality because that's really the way they think of us. You know, we're just human livestock. I'm not saying it's wrong to use that terminology. It's just I typically don't think of people like that. It's, it's I think more in the terms of like normies versus the noticers versus the psychopaths as far as where you fit on the spectrum. And it seems like the psychopaths are in charge and the normies are mostly okay with it. The sheeple, the masses, I guess. So it's but people are starting to notice. You know, don't become a normie and become a noticer just like that. But even normies, they're noticing like things are different. You know? There's indoctrination, as Wissam Mattel says, but I think there's also just your human makeup, your humanity. Like so, I think if you looked across populations throughout history, it's always going to be more or less the same. You know, maybe 3 to 5% of people are outright psychopath manipulators. You know, 10 to 15 to 20% are of the noticer types that aren't susceptible to the indoctrination. and then 75 to 80% of people are just okay with maintaining the status quo. So I don't know. Maybe that is generations of indoctrination. Like that's it's almost like people want to be manipulated and they want to live under tyranny. That's the mystery. I don't know why that. Like I've never been like that. In some aspects, the system as it exists provides some level of security and societal cohesion, but in other ways, it's like nobody wants to get pulled over for a busted tail light, have their car impounded, be forced to do roadside sobriety testing, uh, have their lives ruined over what should be a fix-it ticket or a warning. So the road pirates, and I do feel they're pirates, are not focusing on crime or making the roads safer. They're revenuers. They're generating revenue for the system. And so yeah, how do you eliminate that corruption? Well, I have my pet theories or pet strategies, but they're not very popular. So they've been tricked into believing it's for their good. Well, in a sense, it is for their good because it doesn't require them to think or take responsibility. There's always something outside your locus of control. It's that external locus of control. It's like, oh, well, it's the government, or it's the this, or it's the weather. Whereas having an internal locus of controls, like I control my destiny. I'm responsible. I'm accountable. I'll deal with it. People just don't want to deal with shit. Welcome, Kinetic. Good to see you. Good to see you. We're just rambling on and on, talking about nothing. Uh, you look at the content on YouTube. It's designed for the masses. The algorithm wants people to do what the algorithm wants, and that's what gets success. And so I'm on my road to 100 million subscribers or whatever it is. Like I think I might take a while because I'm not doing what the algorithm wants. So, and I don't think I'm willing to do what the algorithm wants. But here he comes with his flocks and his herds, his legions and armies. He's quoted over 10 times in the Old Testament. Well, I think that's a messianic reference there to the Lord. But that's my take on it. But yeah, people will have to accept the cognitive dissonance that we're promised safety, but in in exchange, you have to give up your personal security, your rights uh, to the authority. Right? So it's a weird human dynamic. I'm not claiming that I can figure it out. I just don't know if it's a worthwhile endeavor to try to convert the masses, the sheeple, to a different system or different way of living, the status quo. I'd rather just create a status quo for my own life, which generally looks like chaos day in day out. Somehow that's relaxing and reassuring, never knowing what the day is going to bring. Getting up in the morning and hoping for the best outcome. But yeah, most people they're probably not interested in having that level of responsibility and autonomy. They want the reassurance of a pension fund, or they want the reassurance of the health care insurance, or somebody's somebody out there is looking at, somebody's gonna make my life easier. It's like I'm Gen X. We're kind of, as a cohort, we're not built that way. We're kind of raised in a environment of you're self-reliant. Nobody's coming to save you. Every time I go by, I'm flying the bird. Yeah. Nephew took his GED, done with high school. Cool, cool, cool. I don't know if they can ever be convinced to face reality either, Wasanatal says. Although stuff's getting bad enough that maybe. Yeah. Yeah, like how bad do things have to get before people are stirred up to mobilize? At this point, like I don't want to be a leader of any revolution. Or I more or less, as James Springer, my friend Grande Johnson, aka James Freeman, would say, I just am almost a dispassionate, disinterested observer, just cataloging and documenting the downfall. Like I think we're on a trajectory where how bad enough? I think people will just continue to take it. Unfortunately, maybe that's too cynical, but the glimmering hope is you don't have to take it. You there's always alternatives, even if they're not offered to you. Make your own alternatives. I guess that's the remedy to defeating the status quo is create your own opportunities, create your own alternatives. Uh, the dangerous part is that you may attract attention to yourself in a way that the status quo is going to strike back. Yeah, gesturing. People have been charged with this in Canada. I don't know if the charge is ever stuck, but this has been ruled as freedom of speech in our Supreme Court here. So this is really not reasonable suspicion to arrest, detain, charge anybody with a crime. What I've seen, like the pickers, they're tricksters. They know tricks, right? When you're holding your finger up to the window like this, and the cop sees it, he'll chase you down, pull you over, and say something like, "Oh, the reason I'm pulling you over is I thought something was wrong and you need assistance," and then they get you in the word game there where you tie yourself up, where the right answer is, "This is all I have to say to you." But yeah, I've seen people getting arrested for that. It's totally outrageous, but it's happened. Considering this slot camera is literally flock camera is literally the middle of nowhere. Maybe I should go up there, park away, walk up, pull my pants down. Oh, give them a little show, little butt show. Yeah, the person in the vehicle who stopped to confront someone who gestured at them, they ought to be convicted. I totally agree. Well, I'm more concerned about the cops pulling you over for this because this is a protected right. You have your First Amendment in the United States of America. We have constitutional charter rights here, and freedom of expression is one of them. It's not enumerated in the five elements like you have down in the States in your First Amendment, but the wording is essentially the same. That you have the ability to express this, and the government can't prevent you from expressing this. In 43, steel a penny replaced copper to redirect it to war. We stopped using the penny. Gas was rationed by 44. Diesel gas is being rationed in Florida. Yeah, well, it's again the opportunities you got to take upon yourselves to create alternatives. You know, whether it's making biodiesel. I mean, I guess there's limits practically in how far you can take things. As I prepare to make another tweak of coffee, let's make some coffee. See this? I just about pulled the whole shooting works down. This is where what I'm talking about is all kind of theoretical. When the rubber hits the road, it's like it's up to you to make it happen or make it work. Well, like even with, you know, electric power generation, alternatives exist with solar and renewables, wood fired heat, you know, wood burning appliances. And well, they're trying to crack down on that. I think in the province of Quebec, you know, a French speaking nation within a nation in Canada, like you can't even have a wood stove and use it. So people are just giving them away. Here in British Columbia, I think it's kind of leaning towards that type of restriction and regulation, but it seems like nobody, at least not in the rural areas, pays any attention to it. And that brings up another good point. The farther you are away from the urban centers, the more freedom you're just naturally going to be able to enjoy because you're farther away from the regulatory institutions that make the regulations, and it comes down to enforcement. You can make whatever regulation you want, but if it's up to you to enforce that regulation. So here in British Columbia, like everybody's got a wood stove. You can ban them, you can restrict them. People aren't going to stop. And good luck trying to make them. Like it's just not happening. So this is what I observed during COVID. Like you can make all the restrictions you want, but if we choose to ignore you, like what are you going to do about it? And that's what kind of bothered me about the COVID era is that people didn't realize how much power they had. They were just so used to being told what was good and what was safe, and you know you don't want to kill grandma, so put this mask on and social distance. You can only have two people at your house at any given. I think our restrictions were worse here than most of the United States. Maybe California was bad. New York might have been bad, but yeah, it comes down to enforcement. You can make a regulation, but if I choose not to follow your regulation, what's your system for enforcing it? You know, the highway traffic laws, they have a system to enforce it to the point where they'll spike strip your car, use a grappler because you blew a red light or something. Like, or because you're driving a muscle car, you're driving a Mustang, or a Cobra, or a GT, or a Mopar, you know, a Charger. Not a Charger with a Batman headliner, of course. But, you know, if you're driving a Scat Pack or a Hellcat Red Eye, just ownership seems to qualify you for getting harassed and pulled over by the police. Just, just by virtue of you putting it on the road and driving around traffic, minding your own business. Like, let's go harass that. that Hellcat owner, just because. So there's a system in place. Traffic laws are enforceable to a terrifying extent, but going back to my example, wood burning stoves, like you have no possible way of enforcing anything like that unless the people all buy into it, which they seem to have in Quebec. Quebec is a weird social experiment here in Canada. They're just pretty weird overall. I don't think anybody likes Quebec in particular. The tragic part about the French-speaking community in Canada, still here, is that they're really the seat of power in Canada. You know, you look at many of our heads of state. Well, our head of state is technically the king, but our prime ministers, many of them are Quebec firsters. You know, you talk about America first or Canada first. They're Quebec first. It'd be like the president being Florida first, and just because Trump is from Florida, he was only working in the best interests of Florida. Well, that's how Canadian politics is. The country basically caters to what Quebec wants and needs. It's fucked up. So a political solution is really not an option here. That's what I'm getting at. Let's see here. They will pry my multiple wood stoves from my cold dead hands. Yeah. Let's see. Kinetic is biodiesel from poo. Well, how about you? How about we assign you that project and get back to us when you have the answer? I don't have all the answers. I don't know. You might be able to. I'm not going to sit here and tell you you can or can't. Your homework assignment is get to work on that and let us know. Check back with us once you have the answer. Because as smart as I am, I'm not privy to knowing everything. And poo biodiesel production is not in my wheelhouse. Maybe somebody in the chat knows the answer, but I'm not the guy to ask. But I'm willing to assign that to Les Matau as something to do in your spare time. Selective rights, yeah, it's just the double standards and a tiered system when it comes to justice and laws. So this goes back to the psychopath manipulators versus the sheeple. For some reason, the normies are okay that those in power are not held to the same level of accountability that they are. As people that just want to go through life, have some degree of joy and happiness, and see their families happy and healthy. Let's see. Kinetic was talking about some 12 valve Cummins. You can't have reuse of wood stove in Oregon? Well, I guarantee you there's people in Oregon that have and use them. Just maybe not on your street, but there are going to be multitudes of people in rural areas that are in fact using wood stoves to heat their homes. 12 valve Cummins can run off reclaimed engine oil. '85 S10 with a carb, make a gas fire. Yeah. So, yeah, there's some interesting projects people come up with. Oh, that's Aiden said they will pry my multiple wood stoves. You're right next door to Queerbeck. Oil of iniquity going to be scarce. Thinner engine oils that are required for the newer engines are already, yeah. What was one guy saying? I went to buy these batteries at the supply store the other day. He said something about oils. It's going to be very difficult to source them in the very near future. But he was talking specifically about, I forget what. That's just it. I go in to buy one thing and I end up talking about them to them about 7 different things, getting prices on this and that. Pot is legal. I smoke the best for free. Eat a lot of eggs. You can get by on pot and eggs. I mean, I get most of my calories from cigarettes and coffee. Historical, yeah, people just don't care to pay attention to. It's like there's nothing new under the sun. We've seen this story before. You're not supposed to use wood stoves anymore in the Phoenix area. Again, greater Phoenix area is probably an increased ability to enforce such regulations. Whereas when you're out the what do you call it? The boondocks or the sticks. How they're not going to enforce it. Like they're just not. So yeah, it's those urban metropolitan centers that are kind of the places you're most fucked. But here's the but: if everybody in Phoenix decided tomorrow, or even today, or even this afternoon, even before the banana ball game, Savannah banana ball game starts in an hour and 20 minutes, if everybody decided, fuck that, we're putting wood stoves in our, like they couldn't shut down everybody. So this is the power of numbers. But how do you convince the masses to just disregard a regulation? Because this is where the complexity gets in. It's not even the government that forces it. They'll use an insurance company. Well, your insurance is void, or your your bank will say unless you have insurance, your mortgage is this. They create stipulations with corporations to enforce. It's during COVID. It wasn't the government enforcing anything. They got retailers to force you to mask up or social distance. Which begs the question is, who's got coronavirus? Who? Meanwhile, out of my property, I have a shit ton of wood. There's wood everywhere on BLM land. Never run out. Just for fuel. Just need to find that carbureted truck. Spreading rumors about James. Oh, let's hear him. Welcome in, Aaron. Always good to see you. Your contributions are always helpful here. Maybe lawful to use it in some counties. I don't know, but not here in Multnomah, Clackamas, or Washington County. Yeah, I bet there's some people stealth burning in their wood appliances, but who knows? Like, does that include pellet stoves too? Because those are the latest, high efficiency pellet stoves. Aaron's a simp. Who's he simping for today? Are you simping? There's a suggestion in the chat that you're a simp. We'll figure that out. Let's hear the rumors. We're waiting. I said that James' channel got taken down because his wife told him she was leaving him, so he privatized it so his income would go away, so he wouldn't have to pay her alimony. Oh, that's a good rumor. I like that. Is anybody biting on that one? Pellet stove is crap. Give him a thumbs down. Yeah, I don't know. Were they put Aiden, fellow Canuck, Canadian? Were they pushing those? Well, I guess they were because it was a federal initiative. Those heating and cooling units. What are those called again? Those things you just mount on the wall and they're supposed to heat and cool your home. I'm sure they were out there. But well, yeah, a buddy of mine, he's got a pellet stove in his cottage. He says it's great, but I mean, you're buying pellets now. What if you just want to cut logs and throw them in the fire, like a man would? I don't know. I'm not saying don't buy pellet stoves. Are they safer? Are they better, more efficient? I would say probably not. But we're losing our onlines here. Is it buffering? Set it on lackluster, latest post. Someone asked for proof, said it came from my head. There you go. That's the right approach. Oh no, my I'm just gonna shut down, I think. Yeah, I gotta come up with some device solutions. I updated this MacBook the other day to the latest version update I could. I have no idea if I'm live here or not. It's gotta take a rest or something. So I updated to the latest version available, not version. And as I'm downloading the frickin' new version, it says update to the newest version. You know, I'm like, what the fuck? Why didn't you just offer me the newest version before I started the update? Bunch of crapola. This technology. It's probably going to be sooner rather than later. I just abandon a lot of this technology. Just not worth it. I think as a kid who grew up in the 70s, I could probably survive without YouTube at this point. None of any of this is really required for me to get by. It's just got nothing better to do. Update my glasses. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. Friend got a pellet stove. At first he loved it, but then it broke down after 1 year. Well, yeah, because anything made in the last 20 years is really, it's that planned obsolescence. It's not designed or constructed to last. There's just no quality. That's why a 1985 S10, yeah, you hold on to those little shit boxes, man. And my shit box is not that I think it's a shit box. What other people perceive as it's a shit box. Yeah, the glasses update. Let's see. I got the Buy Me a Coffee link pinned in the chat. We'll see if there's a Buy Me a Glasses app I can install too. Do Buy Me glasses. If you want to convert to the KickBot fund, feel free to put put your contribution in the Buy Me a Coffee fund and just tag it KickBot. And we'll get the custom voices. Okay, where are we here? Making rocket stove for your bus. I made a small rocket stove. I'm not convinced that they're terribly practical. I like the idea conceptually, but it's like they go through wood fairly fast. They're very efficient, but you got to keep feeding it. So it'd be nice to have a rocket stove as part of your infrastructure, but not rely on it solely. But yeah, if you've got the right application, you burn twigs basically. It runs on very little, but it goes through fuel pretty quick. Yeah, they're very clean. But just my playing around with them, I couldn't find an application where I would use it to heat anything other than really just making coffee. I suppose if I really had to think about it, design something that's gonna be practical, and I mean, there's always a trade-off, right? I mean, a buddy of mine has a full-size woodsman wood stove in his RV. It's parked, like it. He doesn't drive that thing around anymore, but he's living in that thing back in Manitoba. He spent the winter feeding this stove. I mean, it gets too hot. It's too big a stove for the space he's got, but you do what you need to do, I guess. Mikey B not here. We're lucky Mikey B not here. You'd be in for it, Aaron. Mod me up. Mod. I don't even know what a mod is. YouTube is just a bonus, yeah. Yeah, do you just walk away from the internet and then now there's no more Aaron Queen in your life? I mean, that is kind of a tough call. I'm with you on that one, Aaron or Aiden. Sorry, Aiden. I'm just playing a character. I'm actually a really nice guy in real life. There you go. What do you got? What do y'all think of Aaron's character? He's really a little jerk off. Why do you change your name to Susan? Well, George can go into the explanation. Updating according to the rate of AI development? Maybe. Anybody who tells you they're a nice guy is probably not being entirely upfront with you. Your account has been terminated. Yes, George Daly is Susan Daly, aka George Daly. Victim of the internet. So likable Aaron playing the character of the heel, says, Wassa, you slow as fuck in the brain. I like Aaron. He has an amazing ability to annoy people. It's talent. And I assume in real life he's a good dude. Will we ever know though? I mean, the ability to annoy, that is again practicality. There's there's some benefits to that. Is it talent? I guess yeah, playing a role. There's some artistic creativity involved. Attempting to get a militia on YouTube. Like, what does YouTube care whether you're assembling militias or like militias are not illegal, are they? They- Well, there's no appeal, right? You said threatening talk. Threatening who? That's a good one. Again, there's no way to argue your case in the court of YouTube. I didn't read the daily part. I refused to wear my glasses. I'm going to force my vision back to 2020. There's a video of me in Arizona, and I gave everyone a book and gave Freeman about 100 of them. SJVT got a book too. So you're just this guy who hands out books. There's nothing wrong with that. I suggested not using social media to communicate. Oh well, okay. You're trying to cut in on their profit margins, so yeah, of course they're going to terminate you now. That only makes sense, I guess. But little do they know that they can't silence a good man, even if he has to use a sock account. It's not a sock account, but has Bao ever met Direct D? I don't think so. I have. I don't think so either. You think Bao and I will ever hang out? I don't think so either. Maybe I don't. I can't say I know Bao or can speak for him, but um, has Bao ever met Direct D? Like in real life, I think the answer is uh, an absolute no. I think that's. I'm not speculating. I'm pretty sure he said I've never met him in real life. He's called him faggot and didn't want to hang out with him when given the opportunity. So it's not like he. I guess he's aware of what hanging out with Direct D or meeting in person would involve, and he doesn't want that in his life. Just like a normal person would. Whether it's to give him a book or otherwise, I don't know. But it doesn't seem like there's a desire to meet up with Direct D. At this point, I don't think there's a desire to meet up with Aaron Queen, whether in character or in your really nice guy persona. I don't know. You ask Bao. I mean, I'm just speculating here. Does Bao live in Texas or elsewhere? Yes. He lives in your head rent free. He's Mikey B's roommate there. Who's? I think I came up with Direct Dookie. I could be wrong. Aaron acts too juvenile and negative, too needy for a dude. He's apparently a really nice guy. Let's get to know him. And not juvenile and negative at all. From what he's rumoring in the chats, these could all just be internet rumors. Hung out at Texas Sheepdog 72's house for a week. Then went to New Orleans for a few days. That was a few years ago. It was a good time. Texas Sheepdog, I've heard the name, not familiar. I could bet money Direct D never read that Lark and Rose book. Aaron was helping. Okay, so just dunking on Aaron here. Jack Miller is Texas Sheepdog. Again, doesn't really help me. I don't think I've ever followed that channel. Maybe I've come across his content in passing, but if it was a good time, it was a good time. Who are we to dispute your internet claims, rumored or otherwise? See, I came in late to the whole cop watching auditing scene. I've only been aware of the genre or the movement or I don't even know what you want to call it for maybe a couple of years now. Like really, it was spring of 2024 that I discovered all that content from James Madison, James Freeman, and in turn, got exposed to Bow and Long Island Audits and AFA and all the usual suspects. But from what I can gather, it really started to come into prominence in 2017, 2018. Some of you have been around watching this content that long. So I just don't have familiarity with all the players, all the characters in the community, other than through association, through leech streamers, and just what I've come across. So some of the content was very beneficial to watch, but I don't know everybody. So if you bring up a name I'm not familiar with, it's just I'm somewhat of a noob. But I've seen enough to know it's like this is going on everywhere. So it doesn't matter. Ironton, Ohio is not the most corrupt place. Leon Valley is not the most corrupt municipality in like it's the same everywhere. It's the same everywhere. And my point being is like you only need to expose yourself to a little bit of this content to realize like we're fucked. There seems to be an agenda, an initiative, a strategy to remove everybody's sense of they actually do possess rights, and there's a lot of trickery involved. The police are trained in verbiage, language, techniques to get you to voluntarily relinquish your rights. It's part of their training. Because at the end of the day, when you're standing there fighting your ticket or doing your 1983 violation of rights lawsuit under color of law, blah blah blah. I mean, the judge is going to say, "Well, you relinquished this voluntarily, so How are your rights violated? The cops know the tricks. There's a lot of psychology involved. There's a ton of psychology involved. I've been watching since Bret the Hitman Hart won the World Wrestling Federation title, but then lost it in Montreal. Oh no, Bret. Yeah, I do need a new Bret Sanders in 2015-16. So yeah, my first cop watching was really Gavin Syme back in 2010, 2012. Like he is one of the OGs as far as I'm concerned. Uh, Mainly because he had kind of a following or a big enough channel that YouTube was showing it to me. There were others around that time, but Gavin is really kind of the one that launched, for me anyway, uh, just the idea that you're going to record cops. And back then, they really didn't like it. In less than a decade, the courts of the land were ruling that no, you can record police on a video capture device without consent. They can't retaliate. It's your right. But yeah, I do not know who or what Bret. What is it? Bret Sanders? You said Bret Sanders. Uh, but between Gavin Syme and then the James Freemans, James Madisons, etc., 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 I didn't realize there was such a momentum gaining in that genre. So it's really kind of exploded to now we're at the point, I think conspiracy music is doing a live stream today. Just like let's pick this apart. Where does First Amendment auditing and educating people of their rights end, and annoying content creators begin? Because there's a lot of annoying shit out there, and yeah, I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And I would point to certain creators that do a good job or have done a good job, but others not so much. It's like don't know where we're going with this. What, but it seems like whether it's halo laws or new techniques and strategies the police employ to prevent you from doing the cop watching or the auditing, like they always find ways to patch up there's going to be legal patches coming eventually, but yeah, as of 2026, it seems like the movement or the First Amendment community is growing. People are doing more and more of it. I don't know if the online engagement is increasing, but the activity is certainly continuing to expand. Sub to Bow in June. So you've been a victim for almost 8 years. Wow. What's us getting a license? Why? Oh shit. Mom won't ride to her doctor's appointments, errands and stuff. So I don't know. If you don't have one, you're hooped. See, I can make a case that having a license is not the biggest violation of your rights. It's it's how they use that license to as a foothold to get you to relinquish rights. So the license in itself is not probable cause that you're a criminal, but it seems that that's kind of the case. There's a time when I figured, yeah, fuck the license. I'm a free tweaker on the land. Pay my gas bill. government can't restrict my right of free travel, blah, 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 blah. But it's sort of, no, just for ensuring that there is some accountability, because really you are driving a 3,000 to 5,000 pound weapon down the road if you're not qualified to do so. I'm not necessarily opposed to licensing. I'm not necessarily opposed to vehicle registration or insurance as long as you're not signing away through legal loopholes that registration relinquishes your ownership. I I think that's a rabbit hole myself, but there's that possibility that we're all just getting scammed. Chile found some black guy I used to record with a VHS camcorder in the 90s. That was cool to see. Ooh, VHS. Rights are supposed to be inalienable. Yeah, I don't think that the act of getting a license to operate a vehicle should should alienate any right. And it seems that that's the opposite of what the net effect is. I mean, we have a regulation here that if you're in a vehicle traveling on a public road, the police can stop you for no reason and demand you produce ID. And it's like, what the? Are we living in North Korea or something? It seems that the laws are written to remove any right to anonymity, or like they know who you are. Like, what's are they just that addicted to that ID? The emote. Where's that emote? Oh, yeah, my emotes pulled up here. Rights are inalienable. Something, not something you can be alienated from or tricked out of. Yeah. Both breakers sort of uphold them, especially not that you need to involve. Say, I've heard that name. Brandon Mitchell, I've heard that name. Welcome in, Brandon. Live long and prosper. It's oh shit. It's got to be 4:30 in Missouri by now. You must be just smashed out of your mind. The earliest stuff I remember was the cop block stuff in 2010 before James Freeman. There was a Demo Freeman. Yeah, like who was that other dude that kind of lost it? Shit. Uh, there was Gavin Syme, and there was that other kind of very loud, abrasive guy. He was about Second Amendment and recording in public. The cop blocking was a thing. Yes. He's kind of not faded off into the sunset, but he's not as prolific. I'll remember it. Licensing for pew pews too. Not if you allow that, you've lost your rights. Again, yeah, I wouldn't do licensing for pew pews, but we do have that here. Like you have to apply for a possession license here. It's federal. Like yeah, we're fucked. At some point, that ceased to be private property and became something that needed to be federally regulated. And really, our constitutional rights don't require it, but that's maybe something that is more enforceable here because of our population size in the United States. I mean, good luck enforcing Second Amendment or good luck trying to disarm the American populace. They're trying to do it here. They definitely are. What I'm getting at with car licensing is more of a social contract we have that the rules of the road are meant to be obeyed because they are in everybody's best interests. And we have a lot of people here that do not adhere to that social contract, making the roadways a hazard for everybody, including themselves. With gun laws or gun licensing, the people that are not obeying proper gun usage, gangbangers, criminals, etc. They're not using that freedom for what it was intended for. Likewise, on our highways, we ought to have the freedom to peaceably, safely get from point A to point B without being harassed or destroyed by someone who is not qualified to use that system in the way for which it was designed. With a lot of newcomers to our country, they don't have necessarily the same social contract. Have you ever seen video of what traffic is like in Egypt? Like say Cairo for it? Like it's just chaos. Everybody's just driving it every direction at once. Like there's no rules of the road. So maybe it's just a Western civilization thing. It's like as a courtesy, as that social contract, we need to ensure that we're looking out for everybody. That's not communism. That's just common sense. Uh, but to have a minimum level of ability to operate a vehicle, like operating a car, is actually fairly complicated. It's one of the possibly one of the most demanding uh, mentally activities that you could do as a human because there's so many variables, and when people violate that social contract and just start doing whatever, well, it's too much for you to process when something totally random and arbitrary starts happening. So it's like we need a uniformity to maintain the system to operate correctly. And when people don't adhere to that minimum ability to maintain that's that operational functionality, that's when things go haywire. This is why I think the self-driving cars are never going to work properly. Not they either have to have all self-driving cars or no self-driving cars. You can't have humans and self-driving cars. It's not good. Drove for years without a license. Yeah, like if you can get by without a license, like yeah, figure out a way to do it. No one cares what I think. Well, exactly. But yet you're still here. Unalienable means you can't put a lien on them. So I mean, this is what the internet lacks is there's there's some nuance, discussion, and thought that needs to take place. It's not just black or white. There's unfortunately so many gray areas. But I think we all can agree like we don't want gun violence. At the same time, we want to have the ability to keep our government in check, and one of those ways may involve the ability to protect and defend your family against government overreach. There's some methods of doing that that are better than others. Likewise, on the roads, we can all agree we want to be able to plan a trip, figure out our destination, our route, get there safely, and get home safely. And when that gets interrupted, we need to figure out ways to manage that. Is government the best way to manage that? Probably not. Probably not. So yeah, your kind of hammer stone analogy, that's where it's like you're taking it to the extreme. You know, the reductio ad absurdum. It's like, yeah, we're not going to start regulating hammers and stones because we have laws that prevent you causing harm to others. Yeah, if someone commits a crime using a vehicle or a pew pew, if somebody causes harm to others with any item, there needs to be consequences. Yep. Canadians are in a sucky position. I won't even touch the gun issue in case I incriminate myself. Ooh, incrimination. Ooh, indirect admission of guilt. Gonna poop, then shower. Well, thank you so much for updating us. We really appreciate you letting us know your the minutia of your daily schedule. Safety is never justification. Well, that's just my point. There doesn't need to be a giving up of your rights in order to have a cohesive system. Water the tree. It's time. Mr. Osgood in the house. No gray areas when it comes to rights. Well, again, we're agreeing here, but at a functional level, if there's people not obeying the social contract, having some system to create uniform rules of the road, and I'm really strictly I'm not putting Second Amendment gun rights in this category, but having a license to operate a motor vehicle, I'm not entirely opposed to that, and it doesn't need to mean your rights get relinquished. So that's all I'm saying. Some things are just a little bit common sense, and it's how the manner in which it's enforced. It's maintaining a safe roadway system does not involve pulling people over because the DMV made a mistake on your paperwork and you thought you were registered, but when they're behind you with their license plate reader uh, encroaching on your privacy rights, they can tell that you need to be pulled over, your vehicle impounded because of a clerical error or a technological like that. That's not what I'm defending at all. Or if your license plate light is burnt out, that gives them a reason to search your vehicle and get a canine unit or like no. Or just because you're driving a Mopar muscle car, that gives them the right to just turn the light cherries and berries on. No. Yeah, it's a way to hopefully ensure that the rules of the road are followed by creating a minimum threshold of ability. So because they do a lot of crazy shit in the name of protecting the safety of the traveling public. Yeah, when the people fear the government, it's time to water that tree. Yeah, there we go. I thought you mean it's time to take a piss, which it almost is here. I was gonna go water some trees myself. Not the tree of liberty, but yeah, it's a lot of what we're seeing are symptoms. You know, the problem. I think we all know who or what the problem is. It's just the solutions to the problem don't involve remedying the symptoms. We need to cut to the root of the tree. or hack the roots off. Just flailing at the branches is not the solution. But my solutions to what it's going to take to get at those roots, they can be distasteful. Again, with Aiden's comment a little further up, I hesitate to talk too much about it. Least I cause any undue attention. But yeah, a system that's propped up by lies. I mean, we can all see, right? Or everybody in this chat, I'm assuming, can see it. But a biblical reality is that at the heart of man, there's a desire to be lied to. That that, that again kind of boggles my mind. People would rather believe the lie over the truth. I'd rather be peaceful, but yeah, you and me both. We always have to add that but at the end. So, however, here's another qualifier. I think we're on a trajectory that it's like the tipping point has been reached. I'm not sure where it goes from here. Again, just kind of becoming a little more almost disassociated, being a disinterested, casual observer of all the weirdness that's going on. You're available. You're signing up for the Canadian militia. Well, I did disclose this on a previous live stream. I might have been muted the whole time, which is probably better. It's like it does involve polar bears that are meffed up and mobilized, trained to be an elite uh, neutralization force. Because we have a whack of polar bears up here, and they are pretty much the apex predator. Uh, I mean, pound per pound, your average house cat. I think they're the world's apex predator as far as the amount of prey that they actually manage to obtain. So house cats are like the apex predator on the planet, but for just sheer brutality and making a statement, I think trained polar bears, given a steady supply of methamphetamines, would be a formidable force to reckon with. So that's Tag is in the house. Welcome up. Welcome in. We're just waiting for the Savannah Banana ball game to start in about half an hour to an hour. Rainy day here, British Columbia, on the long weekend. May long weekend, May long. So not much going on. I figured I'd just turn on the YouTube button thingy. 75 shows up in the house. How many house cat do you think it would take to bring down a tweaked out polar bear? I think the house cats would probably know better and not even tangle with that. Trained tweaker polar bears and Sasquatch would be an unstoppable force. I mean, originally my strategy was in the event of an American invasion of our border that I may or may not already be involved in training squadrons of these aforementioned polar bears, and I may or may not have acquired the aforementioned methamphetamines required to mobilize them. But essentially, we just place squadrons, battalions of these trained polar bears at the U.S. border, and any ground forces wouldn't stand a chance. We might be able to mobilize a river otter battalions at the same time, and in concert, we would at the U.S. American border, we would place cases and cases and cases of O'Keefe's Extra Old Stock, Molson Triple X, and some of our higher alcohol content beers, and just leave them for the American troops to discover. And so imagine American troops blasted on Canadian high test beer getting decimated by methed up polar bears. It would be just, I tentatively called it Operation Savage Tweaker, but we can rename that. Well, we can't get bourbon up here at this point. Maybe in Alberta and Saskatchewan, but most of the country they've shut the border to bourbon imports for some reason. I guess they're allergic to orange or something, or the color orange triggers some people. So as you can see with my plan, like no country in their right mind would even think of invading our glorious land up here. I think it's a sound plan. It would have to be grassroots though, because our government there would be way too many regulations to try to overcome. So it's really a matter of people connecting with people, recruiting and mobilizing these battalions and squadrons of tweaked out polar bears to really in wartime create an indefensible border, or not a defensible border, an unimpregnable border. But in peacetime, that same strategy could be used to mobilize against the root of the problem, which we're talking about as well. So we might be able to just through, I guess, weaponizing the internet, find out where to deploy elite special forces units of these tweaked out polar bears for pinpoint deployments. You've heard of the Navy SEALs and U.S. Rangers. Well, the Canadian polar bears, I mean, good luck with that. Operation Savage Tweaker. And in peacetime, I guess we could call it Operation Watering the Tree. Because I know some people that really need a visit from a tweaked out polar bear north of the border, here on our side of the border. Like, I suppose we could work cross border in some fashion if these trained units were required, you know, in the contiguous continental United States. There, we might be able to have some transnational agreements if said militias wanted to deploy the tweaked out polar bears. you guys would have to look after your own bourbon requirements, I guess. But yeah, I don't see any strategy that would overcome the meffed up polar bear. It's just not happening. If there's a flaw in my strategy, please point it out. I think I'm onto something. So that's all about all I have to say about that. And the condoms, yeah, we throw condoms in there. Just all right, let's. Is anything happening on YouTube? Am I the only tweaker tweaking out? I mean, it's a bad YouTube day when I'm the only thing worth watching. Yeah, just fuck all going on. Ooh, Savannah Bananas are playing, and in not too long from now. I do admit I'm addicted to that banana ball. As gay as it is, it's it's pretty exciting sports entertainment. Leave it to an American to come up with something like that. Yeah, no James Freeman updates. No Badger sightings today. I guess we could all go tweak out in the kick chat. But yeah, not much going on at this late hour. Like a nice warm bowl of messes. That's a, that's something you get at Waffle House or what? Ooh, messes. Maggots. Oh, maggots? So there you have it. Like, I'm committed to Operation Savage Tweaka. Who's with me? Again, that was a strategy to be employed with aggression from our southern neighbor, namely you guys. But yeah, it's versatile enough that that deployment can be applied across a wide spectrum of applications. So, and again, I may or may not already be in the process of the fulfillment of these deployments that I described in too much detail, too much incriminating detail. But you notice there's no firearms involved. There's a little bit of illegal drugs involved. But, it seems like our government doesn't really care about illegal drug use enforcement, so it's kind of like they turn a blind eye to that. So I don't think. I mean, we have the injection centers, we have the drug distribution depots. I don't think getting the meth is going to be that difficult, or getting, I guess, getting a larger supply of the meth required is probably not going to be an obstacle. So thought I've thought through the logistics quite extensively because I mean sitting here in a mobile tweak shed, I mean you get a lot of time to think these kinds of things through. So there it's just a matter of the details at this point. And you know, allowing the work to progress on a schedule that is feasible. So, again, I don't want to disclose how much progress I've made at this point. I'll just leave that as something people can speculate on. But we do have the world's largest polar bear population in the universe. Well, we've got the largest polar bear population in the universe, as far as my understanding goes. and so it's not like we lack the resource to do it. It's just the will to accomplish the vision, which I think is a pretty good vision. I mean, I've had worse ideas, but yeah, we're trying to keep as low profile as possible. I don't want to attract too much heat at this point. That would kind of disrupt the whole process. Just being real, just being practical. You know, I do again work out systems and think logistically. Is like it's one thing to just have a vision, but it needs to come to accomplishment. So I think I'm well on the way. And the beauty part is don't need any government military involvement. I'll just I'll just kind of manage what needs to be done at at the level where I have the influence and the ability to make it a reality. So I'm a pretty resourceful guy when it comes to stuff like this. Anyways, I think I've blabbered on enough. I don't know. Is there anything that requires clarification or any questions? You can ask me anything. I think my tweak babble is just about much emptied my tweak babble gas tank at this point. I gotta go empty my bladder now. Well, I guess we could talk about uh, the OG shed tweaker. I mean, has anybody been watching any direct D streams lately, other than what Valerie streams? I mean, they just getting to be the most painful YouTube content to watch? Like I do share Bao's sentiment. Like I feel bad picking on a tweaker like that or a retard. Like it's just there's nothing there. There's 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 no thoughts going through his head. There's nothing that he has to say. He's got a lot of coughing to do, so the emphysema seems fairly well advanced. Like it's not going to be the Arizona law enforcement and criminal justice system that catches up with him. He's just gonna maybe live on stream. He's just gonna cough up both lungs like that. Like, that's it. That's how it ends. That's how the crash out ends. Just drop dead on stream. Is that how this crash out ends? Which has not been occurring for the last 2 years, according to James Freeman. I don't know where James Freeman came up with that. Bao makes us watch, speeds it up, and then the rants. It's not even rants. It's just let's dunk on the tweaker, which we all enjoy doing. Like that part of it is seems to be the net benefit to us all that we're deriving some real value out of those streams. But if you try to watch them at normal speed as they're happening, wow, wow. I wonder if polar bears could survive Arizona heat. Just, just thinking out loud here. But again, the emphysema's got them. Like I don't know if it's going to be 10 years or 10 months or 20 minutes. That I mean, it's like, how do you think this is going to end, Christopher Ruff? Yeah, I tune in from time to like I can't comment there. A lot of you guys can't comment. The tier, the irony, the hypocrisy. You know, it's just it's funny, but not funny. So much has been said about this topic already, but what I see is the coughing and the ass leaking, uh, the bow-legged walk. Somebody said yesterday, it looks like he's carrying a corn cob without using his hands while he walks. Cob, cob of corn, cob, corn cob. Yeah, like, is there a lawsuit against Nokia that he's gonna try? Like, I think that's his best bet. To cover the damage he's really self-inflicted. I guess that would be their defense. It's like I'm sure in Nokia's fine print, it instructs users not to insert anywhere in your digestive system, not to insert any hardware, charger, Walkman, like Sony. I guess they're on the hook for lawsuits now too. Yeah, I think that'd be a weak lawsuit. Well, like, what has he got at this point? Like selling T-shirts that Desert Gnome makes? I I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. Uh, I just don't get it. I mean, either a lung transplant is going to be required at some point, or maybe he could sell off bits of his lung tissue as he coughs them up. I don't know. Maybe his small group of followers would jump on that. Get a piece of DirectD's lung tissue in a little glass vessel, or I don't know. It's not the crash out we want, but it's the crash out we deserve. I just, it seems inevitable. All this stuff with the YouTube blood sports. I don't think that's going to get him. It'd be nice to see it get him, but it's just his lifestyle is going to catch up with him. Like, good grief, like you're really, really, really taking some liberties here. Like you got to be able to breathe. I mean, can we all agree on that? Like, breathing is good, and he's doing everything in his power to not breathe anymore. So I don't know. That damn gnome made too many shirts. He'll never be able to sell them all, Shay. Yeah, you probably just put a little bit of his lung tissue in a bowl, spark it up. That'd probably be good for a fair number of hits. Just the rosin. I don't know how that works exactly, but like, for crying out loud, I smoke and I smoke too much. I think it's gonna be time to quit. Probably after this carton and the next carton and maybe the next two cartons. But geez, am I coming on here like I'm 20 something years older than that tweaker? And yet the majority of my content is not me coughing uncontrollably live on YouTube. But that seems to be his content. Uncontrollable coughing fits. Uh, no true content. And just being a retard in a shed with two female retards. I don't know. And then we make jokes about stuff that he admits publicly. And Bao keeps coming back to this, which is he thinks someone did something to him. by making a joke about him over something he admitted. He didn't even do anything. Like, is that tweak rationale? Like, how? Don't want to get too deep into the mind of the tweaker. Like, that's a dark place to go. But in his mind, all these people have done something to him that requires him to pursue felonious criminal responses. I just don't get it. You you picked a good horse to hit your wagon to there, JJ Scarborough. That's all I can say. They reamed it, man. Yep, they reamed it, and then he continued the reaming without any outside provocation. Like, it's just, it's all about the reaming at this point, and the coughing, and the ass leaking. Good grief! Like, we're not obsessed with your ass. Like, you're the one that did this to yourself. Yeah, and then I'll be accused of having done something to him. There'll be some blowback, and then I'll be blood sporting with some tweaker in a shed in Arizona. Like, how make that make sense to me? Not only liked about it, he said it was great. Oh yeah, it was great. Talked to my mom, my sisters. I guess hypothetically, like if his mom and sisters actually wanted to talk to him, I think he was just kind of imagining the benefit. Uh, it was great because it allowed him the ability to get more heroin while locked up for 8 years. Again, do we have it in us to prevent ourselves from getting in that situation? And even if you were in that situation, would you make decisions if you were given the options that he was given to make different decisions about how you want to make the next 8 years of your life better by doing or not doing certain activities? I'm just talking stupid now. Don't care if he's gay and sneaky gay. Like, at this point, I mean, there's no, there's nothing sneaky about it. It's kind of just overtly, in my opinion. Like, there's, or whether you want to call it bi, it's like that's your business. But yeah, there's a lot of talk about ass reaming, receiving and giving that goes on uh, in Apache County, Arizona, from a particular shed. Like, I've never been in prison either, but just knowing me, knowing my responses, the way I carry myself through life, I don't think I would have made any of the same decisions uh, that he made. And we're still talking about Dookie here. It's just I like not having ass run down my leg, or I like what's in my ass to not run down my leg at uncontrollable intervals. I like not having a reputation for kidnapping and armed robbery of a teenager over $30. And I'm the retard. We're the retards for for pointing out the obvious. We're the losers that don't want to get on his panel and explain to him that this is what retards do. And if you look at what retards do and what you've done, it's the same fucking thing. Like, and we're the losers for not coming on his live panels to explain to him his tweaker ways. And we're bad. We've somehow we've done him dirty. Ugh. Can somebody help me in my thinking? Because I know I'm absolutely wrong. Like, let's give them the benefit of the doubt that we're the losers, we're the retards. Direct D is not crashing out. He's not, well, rather than get into a bunch of allegations or even focusing on his admissions, we're not in his situation, but he's got it all together and we're the idiots. You could run for president. He's a felon and a shitter. Yeah, like he does have a lot in common with others in public office, even the highest position in the land. But first things first, let's get sheriff of Apache County out of the way first, and then governor of Arizona. Or is he running for mayor of Arizona? I don't even know. Hang up your your position as the YouTube gatekeeper, and we'll give you the benefit of the doubt that we're the asshats here, and you're the genius. Someone point out to me how he's the genius and we're the asset. I'm waiting. How long am I going to have to wait? Please, somebody school me. I don't want to be an ignorant idiot. I want to know how everything I see on YouTube from a certain shed location that's been fully disclosed in Arizona, everything that proceeds from there is cloaked in truth, and we're just making up a bunch of stuff because we're losers. I don't want to be a loser. Can anybody? I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Maybe I should pull up a panel here. I still can't do that. Still haven't got the attachments I need for setting up OBS. A convicted felon can't be sheriff in Arizona? Oh, have to get his record expunged? Oh, I doubt that happens. Yeah, well, he has more pictures posted online of other people's kids than his own kids. Like, shouldn't that be an indication like you should change course, change direction, just reevaluate some of your decisions in life? I know you got 317,000 subscribers, and you regularly pull in a crowd of 125 people in your live streams, which I guess some would consider winning. But it's like, is this what felonious tweaker felons? Is this what winning looks like, really? And you got an assortment of phones and charging equipment. DD biography action movie with cartoons, comic books, action. Yeah. Yeah, there should be a way we can market his retardation without copyright infringement. I guess there might be some intellectual property concerns, but if we made a direct Dookie character that was a blatant ripoff of the direct D character, like maybe he's just like Aaron Queen, maybe he's just playing a character. Maybe he's not a felonious tweaker in a shed. Maybe he's like a university professor, or he's like an instructor at a trade school or something, and he's just keeping that information well hidden. And at the end of the day, he just laughs at us because we believe that he's tweaking out in a shed with a woman, I use the term loosely, with a big ass beard tattoo on her chin, and a boomer that tried doing yoga and somehow broke her leg. He started out boofing it back in the 80s. Well, he was born in 89, so maybe I don't want to make any allegations there. I would need the receipts on that one, Mr. Osgood, but I'm not saying you're wrong. I just a little bit of confirming evidence would go a long way there. But Jeebus, like what? Like we're the stupid ones, correct? Like we're all like we're the ones that need to change our thinking. Is the takeaway you must arrive at? That's the conclusion of the matter. It's like we're dumb, he's smart. Like maybe he is a tenured professor in astrophysics or nanotechnology or something. But it seems like he's making shirts in a shed for revenue. And I don't know how shirt sales are going, but I haven't seen a lot of people placing orders, at least not in his chats. Maybe Booferfinger is gonna hodl the whole inventory, hoping he'll be able to capitalize on the handmade garden gnome, not garden gnome. What's her name? Desert gnome handmade T-shirts. Maybe he figures they'll increase in value and it'll be like a market commodity, like the voodoo piggy or something. And I'll make a T-shirt of whatever you want. Here's a request. Yeah. You could request some custom-made shirts. Here's a roll of dimes. Yeah, yeah. He would boof the phone and the roll of dimes needed to make the calls. Yes. There's no reason I would have to doubt that. That somewhat sounds like accurate. Done with the poop in the shower. Well, he didn't miss anything. He didn't miss anything, did he? Are there any polar bears in California? That's my question to you, Aaron. Have you ever seen a polar bear in California? Like not in the zoo? Because we really need to find out if polar bears are going to be able to survive in the environment of California. Just asking for a friend. Do you have running water in toilet? I haven't been using the water in the RV. I actually do have a plumbing leak under the sink. But I've got a hose outside. I've got a wash station outside. There's a porta potty right there. There's running shower and toilets in the main facility. I'm on a camping expedition. I've got bottled water for my coffee, which was filled by a natural mountain spring. The water here out of the hose is not terrible. But really, yeah, one of my projects is to to deal with that leak. Polar bears are only in the South Pole. Oh, you're fake news. No polar bears in the South Pole, I'm afraid. That's not a thing. Are we buffering or are we still good? I appreciate the Dunderhead reference, but at this point, I'm going to defer to the fact that the polar bears are not found, in fact, at the South Pole. Okay, my chat just came back. Aaron got chit in the brain. Scals, no scals here. Scals are actually a bigger problem than polar bears at this point. Not that we're prohibiting scals, but at this point in time, scals are not needed for the plans that I have. So. Scals are just going to, well, shit. I mean, literally, my RV is the size of the shed that DirectD streams from. And to have two scals in here, one with a beard tattoo, the other with a broken leg, like, hell no. I suppose I could set up a tent for them. But yeah, the running water is not a priority at the moment. I've got adequate facilities. So it's actually more of that back to the land that I was talking about earlier. It's just I go wash my hands outside at a wash station. I don't need the toilet and running water to be 8 feet away from me. I don't mind walking 50 feet. Polar bears will tear you apart and eat you. Yes, you're starting to get it. The scowl will kill you slowly. Yes, absolutely. We're all on the same page. Who is this Susan chick? She always has my name coming out of her mouth. Well, Aaron, could I introduce you to George Daly, aka Susan, allegedly. Uh, and he's George. That is addressing the character of Aaron Queen, not the actual Aaron Queen. The actual Aaron Queen, nobody has anything bad to say. Finally had the sex name change. Yes, I don't know. You guys can discuss it in the chats there and figure it out. But yeah, I've got these to kill me slowly. Other people use these to kill them quickly, namely shed dwellers in Apache County. Billboard Chris is a Canadian. Yeah, somewhat familiar with Billboard Chris. I don't seek out that content anymore. Like it's as difficult as it is to dislodge the Americans from their normie apathy regarding rights. Canadians are beyond reaching, so that's where the polar bears come in. Well, yeah, Billboard Chris, I'm not overly familiar with that content creator, but I've seen that content from time to time. It's not like he's a national hero up here by any means, but he does have an audience, most certainly. anyways, yeah, it's time to go find something else to do. I guess Aaron and Susan / George are done talking with each other. Anything else? Have I missed anything? Is there anything else I need to cover? There you go. Mama jokes. See, we can't even go in Direct Dookie's stream and make mama jokes to him because, well, hell, that just hits too close to home, doesn't it? But yeah, a lot of the panels and live streams as of late. I mean, I'm convinced it's causing adult onset Down syndrome in some individuals. I am concerned about Todd, Savage, Scowl, or Secret Scowl. Too much of that content is just, it's going to turn you into that. So some of these, yeah, I would put a Surgeon General's warning on some of the content that's on YouTube. This may cause permanent emotional, mental, and possible physical damage by clicking on this stream. I'm going to the MMA event tomorrow at the Intuit Dome. I was just there last week for a Kill Tony show. Right on. That sounds delightful. And I'd cover my nose, but that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of real estate to try to cover. Anyways, yeah, we're getting on. I've overstayed my welcome here. Let's just check YouTube, see if there's anything going on. Anything that's comment worthy. Maybe Aaron Queen will go live later. I don't know. Yeah, don't think I'm gaining a bunch of subs off this live stream. I'm at 514, I think. But, yeah, that's what I haven't checked my my metrics in a while here. My YouTube metrics. Let's see what YouTube Studio has to say. I should be at 500,000 subs by now, but strangely enough, it's only 541 or 514. Pardon me. Yeah, not much going on. So. I haven't been putting out a lot of content. There's been a lot of tweak streaming to stay on top of. The Bow's kick tweak streams have been kind of a big deal. He's kind of a big deal at this point. So the Freeman news has been a big deal. I guess Sheep Show isn't going live. So yeah, it's up to you, Aaron. Let's hand off to Aaron Queen. Go over to Aaron's channel, subscribe, like, comment, hype. So we go over to Aaron's live, and then we'll catch you on the next one. I'll try to do some more live streaming. It's just been haven't felt like it, Shay. So thanks for coming. Thanks for leaving. We'll catch you on the next one. Stay tweaky. And keep an eye on those polar bears.